Hello everyone, Sai here. Thank you so much for joining me for a Craft Roulette process video. I decided that I would just start creating, to put the camera on and see where it takes me and what card I can create. This is quite a challenge because trying to just make a card from the get-go without much planning usually takes time and decisions. And so this is going to be interesting to see what I can create. The parameters for this, which is episode 198, is the project needs to be a spanner. And that's what I'm working on right now. I am not a fan of fancy fold cards. Reason? Because I don't do them, and so I'm not good at them. that's the gist of it. You know, it's very good to start hating things that we don't feel comfortable doing. So that is point one, or 1 point for Craft Roulette, because they get you doing things you're not comfortable with so that you build your skill. It doesn't mean you're going to be making spanner cards for the rest of your life from now on, and I definitely will not be making spanner cards for the rest of my life, but it does get you out of that comfort zone and start creating things that you normally wouldn't do. And keep in mind, because it is something you normally don't do, there are chances you're not going to be happy with it. But you never know until you try. And so here's my spanner card. I have pulled out some Valentine paper. This is, I believe, Authentique, and it's a couple years old, but I'll link something in that's similar in the description box below. I love Authentique pattern paper. It just has this awesome, nostalgic old style. And so I'll link something in there if I can find it. So I have cut my pieces out. So for my spanner card, I have 1.5 inches on both sides, and then in the center it's 3 inches, and then of course the height is 4.25 tall. So my spanner, to make it so that the two edges connect, I did grab some acetate because I didn't want to create more design into the card. I could have used acetate, which would have been stronger. Probably would have recommended that now that I think about it, but I like the look of vellum better. It's not as shiny, but it is flimsy. So there is something to take in consideration. And the heart is from Trinity Stamps. It's part of their last release, and it's called Mini Heart Swirl. It does have a shadow on it, but I just did the one piece in the same color as the card base. My acetate is super thick. I've never successfully cut a die with my super thick acetate, so I do need to go through my scissors. This is just because I'm going to be making a shaker card. The shaker bits are going to be made from this Trinity Stamps die set, which is the light bulb one. I don't think I have it in front of me to name it, but it will be in the description box below. And I just cut some glitter paper, and I'm trying to play around with this die set. I never really got a chance to yet, so I'm just seeing what I can create, but it will be a shaker card of some sort. So while I'm doing that, putting that together, the next thing is the colors need to be butterfly. I wanted to do Valentines because Valentines is one of my favorite holidays. I just love it. Not as much as Halloween and Christmas, granted, but I love Valentine's, and the reason is because I love love. I really do. I'm not talking about relationships, although I'm not saying relationships are bad. I just love love, and I love the colors of Valentine's. I love the candy of Valentine's, and so when it comes to this time of year, I can't not get excited about it. If I'm not excited, it means I'm not in a good mood, which obviously we're human. It can happen. So because of that, and I forgot that I was supposed to do butterfly colors, I had to Google search what butterflies are pink and red, and I found the pink rose butterfly. So I'm going to pretend that I already knew that in advance, and if anyone hasn't seen this video, they'll never know. They'll think I'm some butterfly expert, and I'm picking pink rose butterfly for my colors this week. And then the next part is the element, and it has to be a centerpiece. So that is going to be what I'm working on now. That is my shaker bit, and I'm going to be filling it up with some odds and ends. And then the last part is dial. And I will spoil it now. I forgot. I got carried away making this card, which I already forgot about colors, and I forgot about dial. So I'll figure something out along the way. But for now, I'll just finish up with this light bulb, which I added some foam tape, which is scrapbook.com's thin foam tape, and it's perfect for this little die. Now the next thing I'm going to do is try to elevate this design a little bit more by adding some ink to the edges of the pattern paper. I personally find it hard to work with just solid paper, especially if it's cardstock. It just is like a sore eye to me when I'm working with it. I don't know how other people are able to pull it off, but when I make my cards, for some reason, it just is not something that works. So I tend to add ink. One common one that I've used is, for example, Vintage Photo from Distress Line. That creates this nice brown color that really creates the shadow that makes the card have more dimension. In this case, I'm going to be just using some red and some almost magenta around the edges just to give it some nice color. So that's all done. I've done all the pieces except for the dark red gingham plaid paper because it's already too dark for the red. And now to make the spanner card a spanner card, I'm going to connect the two ends with my vellum. I'm just using some Simon Says glue stick to put it down and kind of smoothing it out so that you don't see the glue too much. This is one thing I don't like about spanner cards is the back side. I like to try to hide everything, but because I use vellum to make it so that you can see through it, if I were to put something pretty to cover it, then that kind of loses the purpose. Plus, the other part is if I put pattern paper, then now it's going to look different on both sides, which I guess could work in your favor if you had the perfect pattern paper, but I didn't want to go down that road. So I just left it blank and I'm just going to pretend I don't see it when I flip it over and look at it. So off camera, after all my cutting up the footage and everything, I realized that I had cut this part out, but I did trim down all the pieces on the inside of the card, and I trimmed off an eighth of an inch off the bottom. And that's why you see that gap on the bottom there. I'm just playing around, trying to see how the different patterns are going to work. I didn't want it fully covered, but I also didn't want to have it separated from that panel that falls down in the center. So it's interesting, and I'm going with it. Now I'm trying to work with my shaker bits, and I'm so worried of overstuffing it that I understuffed it. I'm so used to having it that nothing moves that I just was being cautious, and of course now there's not enough, which is fine. It's okay. It still shakes. You still get some fun shaking bits, but not as fun if it was just jam-packed of awesomeness. The elements that I used were some Sizzix embellishments that I got from a card kit a long time ago, and I just rarely use these pieces, and they're little crimson hearts and pink seed beads. And I thought that the seed beads would kind of make the nice rattle, but like I said, I didn't put enough of them to rattle enough, but I am still happy with my light bulb shaker card. You did see that little heart fly off. I double checked. It was just floating there. There's no hole in my perfect shaker. Next, I'm just going to glue down my little gingham or plaid pieces right to the side there. And you'll see that on this one, I do have a full border around showcasing the pink cardstock. Like I said, just playing around to see what I can create. So now I'm gluing this down, but I forgot that I'm not gluing this fully on a piece of paper. So I'm going to quickly pick that up and take the glue off the back of that heart, because otherwise it's going to stick to the back of my card like it was right there. So I'm just going to wipe off that glue. Sometimes you just forget, right? You're just in the zone. But I think that adds a nice little element there, kind of tying it in and making it so that it kind of flows and has some color and texture to it. So off camera, I had a while ago created this sentiment, and so I just happened to see it and I pulled it in, and I'm going to add this to my card, and it's going to be my Valentine's card. But I am going to prop it up a bit. Essentially what I was trying to do was trying to stiffen up that vellum so that it's not so floppy. And I thought the heart was one piece, but if I add a nice sentiment and add some layers, maybe it'll be nice and thick so it'll feel sturdy when you pick it up. Not so, but it is a little teeny bit better. So not too bad. But that's the nice thing about trying new things. I have made spanner cards before, but like I said, they are not something I do often, so it is always a challenge to make one that pleases me. While I'm doing this, I guess I can talk about Craft Roulette. If you're not familiar with Craft Roulette, it is a game show that happens almost every Friday. It is a fantastic way to spend your Friday, even if it's just for a moment, or you spend the whole time, you chat, you don't chat, you just watch, rewatch, or watch the replay. Doesn't matter. It is fantastic and very enjoyable. And essentially, Mary, the host, will spin the wheel and you will get 4 parameters, one being the project, next being color, then element, and then random. Those are the 4 things that I mentioned through the show, and then you go and make cards. My favorite part is challenge myself to come up with something. I don't want to just do the same thing I always do. That would be nice, but sometimes it is awesome just to challenge yourself and have fun. This is a perfect opportunity if you are someone like me who is overcritical of your work to just let go and do what your heart desires. It does not matter what it looks like at the end. You are just there to have fun. Drop your guard. Don't care what anyone says, because no matter what you create, it is perfect gold material and everyone will love it. You'll be showered with love. Post it on the Facebook group. I will put everything down in the description box below. And of course, there is chances to win prizes at the end if you are one of the lucky winners. And I'm always trying to win one of those awesome prizes by those sponsors. So check it out. It's a great time to spend your Friday. Okay, so here's my dial problem. I forgot about dials, like I said. It's only because I'm doing a voiceover that I had pre-warned you. So I got a gift at Christmas from a friend, and it came up with these little numbers in a stamp set cluster. So I'm going to pretend I took the numbers off of a dial, like a timer, and I squished them together, and I put them on this pattern paper. My first attempt was a failure because there's so much layers that trying to get that stamp impression with a very light ink was not favorable. Also, prime your stamp because a brand new stamp does not ink very well. So those are the 2 scenarios. So what I did was because I have the stamp wheel that works amazing, I really love this stamp wheel. It's a lifesaver. And so I'm going to go back and put some color in there, and I'm going to redo that. Just so that it doesn't look weird, I am going to be doing it on different locations of the card. I'll do one more on the right side, and then I'll fast forward so we don't keep watching. In this case, I chose a darker color. You don't need to choose the same colors you want. This is just fun. This is just a background. You're creating some grunge. And so you got some light ones, you got some dark ones. And in this case, I went super dark. And once again, it did not work. However, look at that great impression on the front panel with the 4 and 9. That's what I'm going to go with. That's my dial random parameter that I'm going to stick. You can't read the rest of it. Ignore the rest of it. It's just a grunge mess. But my 4 and 9, that's there. That's what I'm working with. And that's what I'm going to tell everyone when I submit this card. So I got all my 4 parameters. And there we go. So now the next thing I'm going to do is, I just felt the front was kind of empty. I left the inside empty. I can work on that later when I have some time. I just haven't decided what I want to do. I already have my sentiment in the front saying Happy Valentine's Day. I do have a sentiment that's referring to light bulbs. I haven't decided if I want to put that in the center or not, but I might. But instead, I'm just going to cut up some of that glitter red cardstock and just make some dots here, and I'm going to finish it off like that. So there's my card. That is my, what did I say? Pink rose butterfly colored spanner centerpiece dialed shaker card. And it is a lackluster shaker card because I was afraid to put too much stuff in it. But you know what? I love it, and I hope you love it as much as I do. It was so much fun to create this card with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed the experience. I know that I did talk the whole time and I rambled, but I'm having so much fun, and I really hope that you got pumped up and you can go out there and create your card as well. So until the next time, have a wonderful, beautiful day, and I'll catch you later. Bye.